In this video, we are joined by the Italiano live on location at California Adventure. He is joining us today while on vacation. And we also got Mr. Slimer, the one and only Slimer, with me as well. We are talking all about Journey into Imagination. We're also going to talk about this Josh D'Amaro stuff about Zootopia, Coco, and Kanto, a whole bunch of stuff that he was referring to. Up next on this episode of OG55. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of OG55. I got the Italiano and Slimer with me today. The Italiano, I will start with you, sir. How's your day going so far, brother?
It's going. We've got a beautiful day in sunny southern Anaheim, California. I just got done seeing the soft premiere of the Better Together Pixar parade. The first parade back at DCA in 6 years.
You know, maybe we'll tap into that a little bit on the show. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that one. George, you can let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. The Italiano. And you could also find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Does that deserve the Italian national anthem, George?
Let's do it.
I won't play the whole thing. It's very long. But Slimer, welcome back, brother. If you could let everybody home know where they can find you on social media.
Hey, OG, thanks for having me back on. And George, good to see you, my friend. I can't say that I'm not jealous. I am very envious of where you are right now. I will be hopefully seeing you guys there in a couple of months. So California, hold down the fort when it comes to that sunshine and that cool weather, because I'm going to be leaving the humidity and the heat here in Florida to join you guys. And it's going to be glorious because August is probably the worst month in Florida when it comes to heat and humidity. But anyways, you guys can find me on X at SlimeSquare84, and I'm also a contributor right here at my home base, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start off with, because you guys are both Florida guys, so let's dive into Imagination Overhaul. So this is courtesy of Blog Mickey. Imagination Overhaul. Permit filed for extensive work at Journey into Imagination at Epcot. It's not quite rumor season yet, but it feels like it could be right around the corner with the 2024 D23 Ultimate Fan Experience in August, slated to be one of the most important in recent memory. Disney fans are wondering what's next for the resort beyond what's already been teased. Okay, so it says here, earlier this month, a permit was filed for some extensive work at the Imagination Pavilion in Epcot. That might be a hint of an overhaul of the pavilion. A notice of commencement was filed for 1990 Avenue of the Stars, which is the address for the Imagination Pavilion and Journey into Imagination ride inside. The work listed is, quote, general construction, unquote, and the contractor listed is Poli Construction LLC. Neither of those are necessarily indicative of an extensive project. What is interesting is the expiration date, November 28, 2025. The Italiano, what do you make of this? Is this going to be a big overhaul, or are they just going to redo the bathrooms or something?
That's the big question, but yeah, it's a long time coming, to be honest with you, because a lot, we've been wanting something new coming from the Imagination Pavilion. Now, is it going to stay Figment related? I'm for sure it possibly, because Figment is very big over at Epcot. He's the staple, so to speak, of the park. But I think this is something more than just changing of the bathrooms. But because I feel like the timing is perfect with D23 right around the corner, and now filing permits for the Imagination Pavilion, which we all know definitely needs a heavy upgrade. I don't know. I'm excited about it either way. I think whether they keep the Figment related, possibly bring back the Dreamfinder. I would love to see him come back maybe in a different way, not necessarily from the 1980s, but maybe like in a new up-to-date manner. Or they may just go that traditional, IP route where they may take out Figment completely, still keep him in the parks, like with the meet and greets and the magnets and the merchandise and stuff. But they may it may turn something into. There was a time where a lot of people were talking about Inside Out for the Imagination Pavilion, which would kind of fit in nicely if they wanted to go the IP route, because in the mind of Riley and what have you, the imagination, you have Bing Bong and what have you. So either way, I'm very curious to see what they have to come of it, but I do think that this is going to be something pretty big.
And isn't there I don't know if it's still on, because Disney's been going through a lot of changes with their studio side. But correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but wasn't there a rumor of a Figment movie not too long ago? So I mean, if that's still a go, I can see them very much incentivized to readdress Journey to Imagination, being that they're going to have a new movie coming out. What are your thoughts on this, Slimer?
Yeah, that's the question, right? That's the $64 million question when it comes to Figment, because you have a lot of hopefuls that really would love to see this thing return back to its original form, which I don't see happening in a million years. It's great. Watch the home videos, because that's probably all you're going to get when it comes to the classic Imagination attraction. Could it be Inside and Out? Probably. Inside and Out has a movie coming out this year. It's projected to do very well. The trailer had a lot of viewership, and it also got positive reception at CinemaCon. Now, what do I personally want? I think everybody wants something a little bit different out of this ride. I think it's going to turn into another Brer Rabbit situation where, if they decide to make Figment a legacy character that you can find in the stores and the meet and greets, that's just something that Disney fans are just going to have to get used to and accept for whatever Disney considers to be the future of that area of the park. Personally, I'm looking for something new. Even though I have been going to Epcot since the 1980s, I actually have a picture floating around there of me there in 1982. I was a baby. My head is bigger than it is now, if you can actually imagine that. But and you got to see my mom's perm. It's definitely definitely an 80s perm. But personally, I like to see something new there. I think that doing something exceptional with Figment. I don't think it's going to here. And here's the thing that you guys have to remember. And I know you guys do, but I'm talking to the audience. Whatever they put there has to drive traffic. It has to be a people eater, right? Because Epcot does have two rides in the very back of the park, Ratatouille and Frozen, which always seemingly have 70 to 80 minute waits on an average. I was there last Saturday, and within an hour of the park opening, Ratatouille already had an 80-minute wait. So in terms of logistics, these are going to be problems that they're trying to resolve. And I just don't think that Figment's going to be able to do that. It might do it in the very short run. The fans will come out and support it like they would their favorite movie, and then it's just going to drop. And then the foot traffic to the ride will probably drop off a cliff unless it has high returnability. So we would probably be looking at an Inside Out 2 attraction, like George stated. My only question, though, is with a permit ending on November 2025, they're going to have to get started on this project very fast if they're going to overhaul this bad boy from the ground up.
Yeah, and Inside Out would be a good choice. I think that if you're going to do an IP in that spot, right? I think that's the IP to do it. I mean, you could even, based on that IP, if you want to throw in maybe like a Figment Easter egg in there for the diehards, you could probably get away with that IP as well. Nothing too crazy with Figment, but you could throw a little bit of Figment in there if you wanted to as a little homage or what have you. Now, I know the diehards would go absolutely nuts if this happened, but I would agree with you, Slimer. I think that you do have to modernize. I think that, you know, Inside Out is obviously more relevant to kids nowadays, obviously, and it's going to be even more so now with this new movie, which you were saying, and you're correct. I mean, it's getting good word of mouth so far, good early buzz. It's possible. George, you support this? Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Well, I think they also were in talks about kind of like meshing the two, the Inside Out franchise with the IP of Figment,
Right.
kind of like incorporating him into the story with Inside Out, because you know, you can kind of add him in there, that it could possibly be a creation that, you know, someone makes in their own mind. So you could even possibly even add the Dreamfinder back in that, but mesh it into
Sure.
Inside Out, where it's more of an Inside Out attraction, but yeah, just kind of like throw, you know, Figment into the storyline, sort of like how they, you know, they could do a Bing Bong or what have you. I think it could work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll see. You know, we'll see. I mean, yeah, like Slimer was saying, this expires November of 2025. So, I mean, we're coming. I mean, that's what, like a year and a half maybe from now or so ish. So, they got to get started on that. I mean, they don't necessarily have to.
My thing is that they may do like minor touches to the outside, you know, the facade of the building itself. I think if they just more so work gutting the inside out, no pun intended, that they can have a better chance of meeting that deadline.
Yeah, we'll see. Big things are happening. If there is something coming, we will definitely hear about it. I think at this fan event, the D23 Expo, almost certainly. You know, that's the right time to do it. Absolutely. But we have more rumors. Well, not even, well, yeah, kind of rumors. We had Daddy Josh today, Josh Giamaro, chairman of Disney Experiences. It says here, this is from our friends at Boardwalk Times. Disney Experiences chairman Josh Giamaro hinted at to the Hollywood Reporter that Zootopia Land may appear in other parks. Slimer, what are your thoughts on this, and where could this thing go? I mean, we've heard Animal Kingdom. We've speculated maybe DCA. Realistically, where do you think this could possibly show up? Or maybe we won't even get it in the States. Maybe this will go to, you know, Tokyo or something else.
Go figure.
Yeah, so I can't even begin to speculate where this is going to go. I mean, at this point, nobody knows, and everybody's just pissing in the wind when it comes to, you know, possible locations for Zootopia. Everybody feels strongly about it going to Animal Kingdom one way or another. DCA seems to be another spot that people would like to see Zootopia come to. I don't know how I feel about that, however, but is anybody really surprised by this? I mean, look at the buzz overseas and then look at the buzz in the United States, and you would think that this was here just based off of the positive feedback this is getting from just general theme parkers and, you know, your hardcore Disney fans and your hardcore Zootopia fans. So yeah, this right now is the hottest property in theme parks, in my opinion, which is kind of weird because nobody saw that coming. Yeah. But it is the most in-demand IP that can come to a domestic park right now. Like I said, it's weird, right? Like you would think that it would be Spider-Man or you know, what they're doing over there in Fantasy Springs or you know, Frozen, but this is overshadowing everything, which again, I don't think anybody saw this coming, but it's a testament to the Imagineer work that they did in this land. I would like to see it come here. I don't know which park, to be honest with you. I don't have a feeling about it one way or another. But yeah, if they give us the opportunity to experience this here, that's going to be a huge win for theme parkers in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it came to DCA, I would support it replacing all of Hollywoodland. I think you could make a sizable Zootopia there for sure, especially if you go into like the bus load unload area. You got plenty of room for something like this. My only caveat, though, with bringing Zootopia to DCA, I'm not a stickler for the California theme. I'm pretty malleable with this stuff. A lot of fans are really rigid on that. I'm really not. Like, I even think San Francisco works just fine. If there's enough California inspiration there, it's all good. Zootopia, the only thing that I would change for DCA, if they're going to keep the California theme, is I would make it more of a Los Angeles version of this animal world. So you would have like the Walt Disney Concert Hall, maybe, with like a Zootopia print on it, or, you know, icons and landmarks from around Los Angeles, just sort of tied into California. And I think that if they do that, all good. Also, another benefit for replacing Hollywoodland is we can still keep the trolley. I'm a huge fan of the red car trolley. And if we have Zootopia, you know, it's still an urban setting, so the trolley makes sense. But Animal Kingdom, yeah, I mean, that's interesting too. I know Rhodey doesn't want that. We did a video, George and I, recently with 6 Miles, and the three of us kind of like thought like, well, you know, this wouldn't be too bad for Animal Kingdom. I think the normies, there's enough connection, obviously, to animals. The normies aren't really going to notice. I think the diehard fans will probably have a problem with this because these are what they call anamorphic animals, where they act like human beings. They wear pants and clothing. So that's where the issue comes in. We'll see how Disney threads that needle, if they want to go that route or not. But what do you think, George? Where possibly could this go in the U.S.? Do you think it will even come to the U.S.?
So what, you know, people can, you know, have the debate of whether or not, you know, when Josh D'Amaro was talking about, you know, Zootopia coming to more Disney parks, and it got me thinking, and I was running through like all the parks, and Hong Kong Disney just recently got Frozen. Obviously, Shanghai got Zootopia. Tokyo is getting Fantasy Springs. I really don't think that they're going to announce that big of an expansion land to those parks right now, just because off the back that they have lands that either just opened or are about to open. So if it doesn't come to some, my money is still on the domestic parks. I think there's a big market in Zootopia, especially since a lot of people was anticipating the fact that it may come to Animal Kingdom, and when they made that god awful announcement of it's tough to be a bug leaving in Zootopia going into the Tree of Life, that wasn't the best welcome that they were probably anticipating when Bruce Vaughan joined D'Amaro on stage at Destination D23. So I think, honestly, that was kind of like their way of testing the waters to see how people would respond to Zootopia. But I think because of the rumors that everyone thought the land was going to go there, it wasn't the best reaction that I think they were looking at. But I think especially after, you know, being on with 6 Miles Tall, and us Disney fans being able to watch videos of the land itself, and especially at night. At night, it is beautiful. It is, and it would fit in such as a type of park as DCA, especially with the nightlife, and it just has that vibe. If it isn't going into a domestic Disney park in Disneyland or Walt Disney World, the only other option would be Disneyland Paris.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Asian parks have gotten a lot of love lately, right? So Tokyo is getting Fantasy Springs, a massive investment, right? Shanghai just got, what did they just get? Just got Zootopia. They just got Zootopia. And then Hong Kong just got Arendelle. So, and then, you know, so they're not like necessarily like done, you know, these parks are never done, but like they're kind of cool for at least a few years now based on those big expansions. I think Anaheim, Walt Disney World, obviously, and then Paris has a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I think that's like, I would agree with you, George. I mean, that's probably where they're eyeballing it, just because the timing, like the Asian parks just got a pretty sizable investment. It would seem kind of weird to build a Zootopia in Shanghai and then turn around and do another one in like Hong Kong so quick, right?
If I had to put my money on it, I'm leaning more towards Disneyland than Walt Disney World. I think Walt Disney World right now, they're going to focus on changing Dinoland USA and the Beyond Big Thunder attraction. So I think with Disneyland Forward, literally and figuratively moving forward, especially after that last Anaheim City Council vote. It's going to move to May 7th for another vote, but even the mayor of Anaheim said that, her and her colleagues are very strongly for this project.
Yeah. Now, Slimer, you mentioned earlier, and I thought this was a fascinating quote. I want to pick your brain. I want to pick both of your guys' brain on this. It says here, thus far, the park's chief, which is Josh D'Amaro, says Disney is on track with its allocation of $60 billion, calling the strategy, quote, incredibly disciplined, end quote, D'Amaro says. Quote, every single investment that we make has to be justified unto itself. The $60 billion is expected to be self-funded from the parks, a proclamation that helped counter some initial Wall Street reluctance on the spending. Iger has also said the company is not going to allocate all of the $60 billion initially and wants to leave flexibility in the budget for new attractions or hotels if a new hit movie comes along. And that's smart. Anytime in business, you want to plan things, right? But Bob Iger is absolutely correct in this. You want to also have some flexibility. You don't want to be completely rigid. You want to be able to move with what's going on at the time as well, right?
And really quick, I just have to say, and I actually remember saying that on a previous video, is if they do everything at once and utilize all the funding and utilize all the space, then yeah, if you do end up with another kind of like lightning in the bottle kind of Frozen type movie, and you use up all that land and space and money and time, it's like then you have to backtrack. So you definitely want to kind of space everything out and pace themselves.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Slimer?
Yeah, I agree. Now, something he says here actually ties into the video that we did the other day with Mr. Seymour Duck. He proposed that there's, and this is a theory, so this isn't any sort of a rumor or confirmation that we heard, our sources, right? But he had theorized that perhaps Apple was coming in as a investor, maybe a stakeholder in the Walt Disney Company, and that might be what the big announcement is going to be next month during the quarterly meeting. However, Josh D'Amaro pretty much debunks that here because he says that all of the funds are coming directly from the parks or the experiences division. So that's pretty much out the door. Especially if this is 100% true that Disney is funding this right out of experiences. It's not coming out of a loan that they're getting from Vanguard or BlackRock or another capital investor such as Apple. Then this is going to be self-funded, which I think also means that they're probably going to be more frugal with it, like George says, and they're probably going to try to do everything that they want to get done under the $60 billion budget. I know I would. I'd probably try to keep it under 45 if possible, because you never know what's going to come down the chute, what studio is going to, generate the next big hit. And if they do, they're going to need that ammunition to keep the edge against Universal Studios, whether it's resort expansion or theme park expansion or investments in new technologies, because we haven't seen all of the technology that Universal Studios is going to be bringing to the park yet. They're still trickling things out. And so you're waiting to see what that's all going to look like and not respond per se, but more like stay, 2 to 3 steps ahead of Universal when it comes to theme park experiences.
Well said.
And a lot of people surmise that the $60 billion, majority of it is going to go towards Disneyland Forward, and that's not the case. The $60 billion is obviously going to be put towards Disneyland, that will incorporate with Disneyland Forward, but that project is 40 years,
right?
Moving down the line. So those investments with Disneyland could, as Slimer has said, space them out a bit, because they're obviously not going to use up all the space at once, because 40 years, that's going to take some time.
Well, why would you? It's like having a savings account and then you spend all of it the next day. It makes no sense. The whole point of a savings account is to have it like for years and years to come in case you need it. Same thing with Disneyland Forward. It's like, how you're freeing up all these acres. you don't want to build on all that right away in the first 10 years. You want to be able to expand and grow your resort over decades. You don't want to blow your, for lack of a better analogy, and I do apologize, you don't want to blow your wad, on in the first, few years, because then what do you do? Then you have nothing left again, and then you're back to square one. So, and you don't want to cannibalize. We talk a lot about here on the channel, cannibalization. You also don't want to cannibalize your investments, right? So if you, and then George is dying to make a joke. I can just see it. I can see it. Dying to make a joke. But you don't want to cannibalize. You want to space this stuff out, because if you, let's say, for example, they build Zootopia in DCA, you don't necessarily want to have Frozen at Disneyland opening the same year, right? You want to let Zootopia kind of get its traction, right? Let that kind of help the resort. And when that starts to die off a little bit and the hype winds down, then you bring in a Frozen, right? And then you get, that longevity. So it's interesting. Go ahead, George. I do apologize, brother.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, in Disney's case, yeah, you don't want to start off in square one, but in another case, that wouldn't be such a bad thing,
Right, exactly. So it's interesting stuff, man. I think there is definitely a change in the air, in terms of like this about the parks and the investments. I know a lot of fans, understandably so, are frustrated with the parks division under Tomorrow, because it's been a lot of what if blue sky stuff. I do feel an energy though, where a disturbance in the force, where I do feel things are really moving and shaking. I think we're going to get some big stuff coming to the domestic parks. We're probably going to hear a lot of that at D23. Really, we have to hear about it at D23. I think Tomorrow's job kind of depends on it. You also have to remember too, which we don't really talk about a lot, but Tomorrow he's on the short list for the next CEO. So the last thing he wants on his resume is a disappointing D23 Expo where all the fans are complaining, right? When you're vying for that spot, he wants to hit a home run. He wants to batter up, just nail it, right? So he's going to want, I think this is do or die for him. He's got to deliver. And it's not just for him as a parks chairman. He's got to do it for his for a potential CEO. Go ahead, Slimer.
Absolutely. Have you noticed how aggressive he has been when they narrow down that it was going to come down to 4 people within the 4 executives within the company, right? So he's the spokesperson on the new WDI shorts that they're doing on YouTube, and he did a very good job on that as well. He's giving off Walt Disney vibes, Michael Eisner vibes, and now he did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter less than a month later. He's setting this interview up by himself. He doesn't need approval to go to the Hollywood Reporter and say, hey, do you guys want to interview me on what we're doing in the parks? Because we're doing a lot. So he's being very aggressive. And even though Dana Walden may be more qualified for intrinsic and extrinsic reasons, Bob Iger is taking Tomorrow's aggression into consideration, especially with how he's been being perceived lately. And then I'm telling you, D23, again, if they don't make the CEO announcement next month and he waits for D23 to see how Josh Tomorrow and Bruce Vaughn do and how WDI has been coordinating with the parks, he might take the spot from Dana Walden.
I think honestly, yeah, I think they may make that decision, possibly with the quarterly earnings, but I think it's going to be after D23, because I think, as you were saying, to kind of see how he delivers on that notion, because if they make that fast knee-jerk reaction of possibly giving him that spot, and he kind of falls back into that comfort zone of saying, well, I got that position anyway, and it ends up not delivering, then all eyes go back on eye.
So does this change the math? Okay, so we did a video with Seymour the other day speculating about why are they doing their the earnings drop before the bell on May 7th. Based on what George was saying, does that kind of splash some cold water on that theory? Because maybe they do want to wait for D23 to kind of see how he performs. What do you think, Slimer? Or do you think they're not really going to take that into account, and we possibly might see the successor named on May 7th?
We may or we may not. I mean, the thing is it's all speculation. Like I
Right.
don't have any evidence that makes me believe one thing over another. It could be a stakeholder announcement. Apple could still be in the game.
Do you think that we
Um,
could possibly see a dual role with Walden and
oh
Tomorrow?
yeah, absolutely, and I would prefer that
Yeah,
See,
me
and
honestly.
if
too.
that's the case, then they may make the decision on May 7th.
Yeah,
Because one way or the other, at least that they would have Walden to fall back on.
Yeah,
yeah.
and here's the thing too. We give Tomorrow a lot of shit on this channel, and it's constructive. I mean, it is. We want him to succeed. We love this company. You know what I'm saying? But I will give him credit though. You know, Chapek was a parks guy. Really, he was a products guy. But you know, but the thing that really did Chapek in wasn't necessarily that it was a theme park or products guy. It was more about he didn't know how to smooth. Chapek couldn't smooth to save his life, you know, and I think that Josh D'Amaro has that smooth factor. I mean, I could see Josh going to the Oscars. I could see Josh
Yeah.
doing the Hollywood thing, rubbing elbows with Meryl Streep and all them. He'd fit right in. Yes, he's a theme park guy, but he would love that Hollywood space. He would love it, and he would do, I think, kind of like an Bob Iger kind of thing with that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
despite his flaws, despite his mistakes as Parks chairman, he's got the smooth thing down. And I think that even though he's a Parks guy, you know, I think Hollywood might take to the guy. They might like him a lot, actually. So,
OG, real
And
quick,
as you,
do you have the ally clip?
oh yeah, I do. Hey, here we go. Give me 1 second. I do have the ally clip.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There it is.
but yeah, as you said, OG, we do give Tomorrow a lot of crap on here, especially me. But it's actually all in good fun. I actually really like the guy. I think as a person, he's very likable. You know,
Yeah.
he's someone that you could actually have a conversation with. Um, Unlike JPEG, where I feel like that you could have more of an interest watching paint dry. Um, but uh, but yeah, I think it was just more so because I'm so passionate about the company and especially the parks that I want to see them succeed, and I felt like Tomorrow wasn't really delivering. However, with the signs that are showing now, it's making it seem like a lot has transpired since 2020, and I felt like it may not be a fair share to say what he's not doing what he's doing when maybe that he really couldn't. So I
Yeah.
think time may show that maybe now he could actually be the parks chairman that he was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Now
It'll
he
be
could be the
interesting.
ally that he was meant to be.
Right,
The ally.
exactly.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There he is. There he is. Now, before we go, gentlemen, I want to talk, George, about this Pixar parade, because you literally you ended the parade and then jumped on. Like, we haven't talked about any
Literally.
of this.
Yes.
How was it?
I actually liked it. It wasn't like over the top where it was very simple, but it did have like a lot of it had like that upbeat kind of thing, sort of like with Magic Happens,
Okay.
So it definitely has like that soundtrack but it fits the parade. It fits DCA. They try to incorporate a lot of the characters as they possibly can. Not a lot of like each section has their own individual street performers, sort of like Magic Happens. Um, I feel like the duration wasn't as long as Magic Happens, but I, for it being a DCA parade and it also being Pixar, I think it did its job, and I was really excited to actually see the characters from Luca because it was the first time that you would ever see them in the parks. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Luca's a beautiful movie. I really love Luca. I fell in love with that. You know, absolutely.
No matter where I go, there's always a hype train.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
got a train to my right. I got a monorail to my left. I mean, people think I'm at Disneyland or something.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's interesting. So it was a pretty decent parade. Nothing
It
mind
was
blowing.
decent. Yeah, it wasn't mind blowing, but I felt like it did the job. It's the first parade back at DCA in 6 years, and I think it did its job. I think more so you get the more intimate kind of parades along like with the fireworks at Disneyland. That's where it should be really. This was just like a fun Pixar celebration, and I feel like, as I said, it screams DCA.
Okay. What about you, Simon? Any questions for the Italiano in regard to this new Pixar parade?
Did you like it better than Festival of Fantasy? Because I'm not a big fan. Like as far as the tone of a parade, I'm not a big fan of that parade.
I would say I'm actually not too big of that parade either. To be honest with you, I think they could do a little bit more. As far as like incorporating a lot of like details to the floats, Festival of Fantasy kind of has the upper hand because I feel like this parade they just kind of like put together for the Pixar Fest.
Right.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoy the music better. It has a very catchy tune. I think you're gonna like it, OG. If you like the Magic Happens soundtrack, I think you're gonna like this soundtrack.
Is it a banger, as Kaylee would say?
As Kaylee would say it, I find it as a banger because when I start moving my shoulders and shaking my hips, it's a good tune.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Interesting.
But I want to touch upon something else really quick. What you fellas think about all the Rumbles coming out with that new Spider-Man coaster? Because like a lot of people are, kind of throwing out these kind of like fan-made
like AI generated
arts and everything and like ideas. But what do you think? Do you think that's pretty much I mean, obviously, if they're going to get a coaster, but do you feel like it's going to be Spider-Man?
I do think it's going to be Spider-Man. And that's Shanghai, correct? If I'm not mistaken. This is for Shanghai. Okay. Yeah, I do think it'll be. I do think it'll be Spider-Man. I think a coaster works well for that franchise. One of my big complaints with web slingers, and I'm sorry, Jay, our buddy Jay Shear. He loves web slingers. For me personally, though, when you have a character like Spider-Man, who is sort of this, who's sort of this like lean, like fast moving, quick on his feet kind of character. To have these big toaster clunky ride vehicles, it runs counter to the character. It feels weird. It doesn't feel right. A smooth coaster where you're going in and out of like cityscapes, things like that, that feels more on brand for Spider-Man. So I think it's potentially pretty cool. Now I wouldn't want that to come here to California because that's a little too much Spider-Man. We already have a lot of Spider-Man in Avengers Campus. Like you walk in, and Slimer, I know you haven't been to Avengers Campus yet, but literally, bro, when you walk in, it feels more like Spider-Man land than Avengers Campus. It's Spidey everywhere, two Spider-Man rides would be overkill. Absolutely.
Feels more like I'm walking on the Google campus.
Yeah, right. The tile does for sure. The Google campus, absolutely.
And then before Slimer, you give your 2 cents on the Spider-Man coaster, but I do find it fascinating that OG, when you mentioned about not coming to DCA, but as of right now, there are Imagineers that are in meetings right now with Kevin Feige as to like what characters can be incorporated more into the park. So that's a good sign that it's going to be, if we do get anything extra with Marvel, that it's going to be something other than Spider-Man.
I'm telling you, it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. That'd be a mistake not to do it.
That's what I want. That was my speculation, especially after that trailer and everything. If they really want fans to go nuts, if they put a Deadpool and Wolverine attraction in there, oh man.
And you could do that at DCA. It's not a castle park. It has an older audience, I think, a lot more alcohol. It's just an older vibe, and obviously on the attraction, you wouldn't have vulgarities, nothing like that on that ride, but you can just make some dope action.
I would.
And then you start checking IDs when you get on the ride, huh?
Well, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking something very similar to like the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure Show at Universal Studios Florida. They could do a duo show like that has very adult humor, but they take it right to the line, right to that PG-13 rating, but that's also a stunt show, so it's entertaining. And do that. Why not? I mean, I feel like Disney has opted for rides so often now that they've forgotten the old, just the old traditional, stunt show, spectacular show, what have you. Universal Studios over there still rocking Waterworld after 90 years, and it's still considered one of the best stunt shows in the entire world. So all you really have to do is do it right once, and you have an attraction that'll last you a generation. Indiana Jones Stuntacular, while not an opening attraction, is another perfect example So what better characters to do a stunt comedy show than Deadpool and Wolverine? That could be a staple of DCA for 25 years if they do it right.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Now, do you gentlemen think, because everyone assumes we're getting an Avengers e-ticket. Is it possible, George? Is it possible that we get like an X-Men ride or some other Marvel?
I sure hope so, because honestly, I'm kind of over the Avengers right now. I just think right now they're kind of stagnant at the moment. You know, even in the studio side, they don't even really know what they're going to do with the Avengers 5 and the Avengers Secret Wars. You know, it's kind of, well, let me take that back. I think they kind of know already what they want to do with Secret Wars. I feel like the Avengers 5 is kind of where they're kind of like reworking on a lot of stuff, especially with the villain and what have you. You know, so they're kind of reworking that. But I feel like as time has, you know, moved on, I kind of want to see something fresh. I want to see something new. And again, this was my pet peeve, even like back when Chapek, you know, was still in the company, when he was, you know, and they were announcing, you know, with King Thanos being the villain. It's like, I'm over Thanos. Like, you know, by the time that this thing gets built and opened, I mean, if that's what we get, that's what we get. I'll still, you know, experience it. You know, I'm for sure it would be great. But I feel like the route that Marvel is moving forward now with Deadpool and Wolverine and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, that I think, you know, that would be the route to go. And I feel like if they did something X-Men related, that could then be the next generation for the next set of phases of incorporating the Marvel brand in the Disney parks.
Well said.
Can I pitch something to you?
Yeah,
go for it.
All right. So the Avengers ride is it's a Fantastic Four ride, and it takes place in the cosmos. You are with the Silver Surfers, and you're surfing through the cosmos on a roller coaster style attraction, and you have to battle Galactus. Now, it sounds a lot like Cosmic Rewind. That's because it is, but again, imitation is the best, best kind of compliment. I think that would be a great attraction. It's already a proven concept. It's a hit. It's outpacing Tron in terms of virtual queue popularity, and that's another thing too. Tron is probably never going to be replicated as a ride again. DSNY, friend of the channel, he was at Epcot. I'm sorry, he was at Magic Kingdom this weekend, I believe, and he said that the virtual queue for Tron was open all the way until 2 p.m.
Wow.
So that's telling me that's a telltale sign that the ride itself, either the length of it or the IP, just aren't bringing people to the ride. On the other hand, Deadpool and Wolverine was stated as being the most watched trailer on the John Campea show of all time. So
that's wild, and it was a great trailer. I mean, we reacted to it in today's video with Tones and Jay Shear, and I actually watched it for the first time on that video, and I couldn't believe how funny that was. It's vulgar, but it's
trailer
funny.
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have really high hopes for that movie. I feel like that's going to be the starting point to bring Marvel back from the rise as the phoenix out of the ashes, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and I do agree with you, Slimer. I feel like, because there was even talks with, is Tron going to be able to come to Disneyland, for Tomorrowland and what have you. And I don't see it going any further than what they already have. Because even, talks right now with, even Encanto now, is on the list coming to Disneyland. And in the article, it stated that, this is all just hearsay, and it's just possibilities. But Encanto marks the 10th IP that is on the list that is the possibility to come to Disneyland. It's number 10.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Now, real quick, before we go, since you're on location, the Italiano, I saw a tweet from our friend of the channel, Victoria. He calls me Pineapple Princess. We've had her on the show before. We adore her. She's fantastic. She made a tweet saying that they actually have done more for Pixar Fest than Walt Disney World's 50th.
I actually agree with that. I actually do. I mean, they got the they have the. I wonder if I'm going to actually walk out because I'm in the Esplanade right now. I
Okay,
don't
yeah,
know
let's check it out.
if you could actually see it. They got the walls done. They have the signs up, and I am actually digging this because as I said, it's temporary, just for Pixar Fest, but I think it's kind of cool. It gives off, that it's a small world kind of vibe to it.
Right.
So let me see.
Yeah, the structure feels very Raleigh Crump. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna turn around here. Let me see. Get my head out of the way.
Okay.
Get my hand out of the way.
It's actually a lot bigger than it looks in the pictures.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So like behind me.
Yeah,
But
that thing is huge.
I think it's like really cool though.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's hard for me. I don't know, man. And this is the thing where I respectfully disagree with a lot of the fandom. I can't get overly upset over temporary stuff. I can't. I don't have it in me. If it's only going to be here for 3 or 4 months, it's like, okay, just enjoy it while it's here, and it'll be gone, in a few months. But yeah, I think this looks fine though, and it's actually it's a lot more elaborate than I was expecting something like this to be for a very temporary event. I don't know. What do you think, Slimer? Overall, do you like the design or eh?
Yeah, I like it. I like the throwback to who is it, Raleigh Crump, right?
Yeah.
It looks great, and like you said, for the people that aren't big fans of it, look, here one day, gone the next. No sweat off your back. Will this even make the history books? Who knows? I don't think people 5 years from now are going to even remember this if they did, decide to discontinue this event. But hopefully they do. I love it when Disney celebrates Pixar individually. I think that it needs its own form of special and specific recognition from Disney Animation because sometimes Pixar, other than Toy Story, kind of gets overshadowed by all the Disney animation that's out there. So yeah, give Pixar some love. It's great.
I was teasing Michael Webber, when we were talking about like, oh, there's rumors, about something being announced at Pixar Fest, and it's like, yeah, Disneyland's getting Toy Story Land, and oh god, his poor heart couldn't take it.
Poor Webber. Speaking of Webber, I have to record with him in a little bit, so we're gonna have to get going here. But Italiano, thank you so much for taking the time to do this while you're on vacation, brother. We appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, it was fun, and I'm glad I was able to do 2 things that I love. I love recording on Orange Grove 55 and actually being at Disneyland. So I got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you get a drink yet, George?
Not today, but I think I might during dinner. I do have reservations at Cafe Arlene, so
nice.
I think I'll get myself a little something, treat myself.
Yeah,
actually, George is a functioning alcoholic, and he's hammered off his ass right now.
Right. Well,
that's why I kept the sunglasses on.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, I tell you, Slimer, when he's with me, he would have had a drink by now.
Oh yeah. you just saw our cruise bill.
Oh man, those cruise bills, they really sneak up on you, man.
When you saw the receipt was like the end of Home Alone 2, Kevin, what have you done?
Yes.
It was like, oh man. It was wild. It was like, oh man, okay, well, I gotta get a payday advance. This thing is huge.
I needed a drink after seeing the check.
Right, exactly.
Who are you calling? 1-800-CASH now.
Yeah, exactly. Speedy Cash. George, if you could let everybody know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And you could also find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. There he
is. And last but certainly not least, Slimer, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
And I'm going to caveat on the Italiano here. And if you live in California, you can actually find George in Disneyland for the next couple of hours. So feel free to say hi. All right.
Absolutely.
He doesn't bite. Hard.
No. Right. Exactly.
But you guys can find me on X at Slime Square 84. I like to post about Ghostbusters. So if you're a fan of that franchise, go check out my Twitter over there. And I'm also a contributor right here on my home base, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, absolutely.
And to Slammer's statement about me not fighting hard, and as Disney does too, that's for a premium upcharge.
Right.
That's a lightning lane.
Yeah, exactly. A lightning lane. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining today. And thank you all for watching this episode of Orange Grove 55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Pixar Fest, Journey into Imagination, just everything we talked about. Zootopia possibly coming to the domestic parks, all kinds of stuff happening, Coco and Kanto. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of OG50R.
세상은 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해. 뱉을 것 같았어.